French newspapers now here on France 24. Liv is with us here on set. We're starting off talking about the European Budgetary Treaty. France, quite divided about signing this one. How are the papers tackling it then?
Yeah, well, today it's crunch time. They've been debating it for weeks. They've got to sign it or not this afternoon. The pen will be pushed into their hands. Now, leaving the financial specifics of the treaty to one side for the moment, Le Parisien is looking at the political angle of this and how it might be a test vote for François Hollande. Because, of course, he's got to get the left rallied around him to ratify this treaty because he really wants to ratify it. However, the communists and the Greens are not so happy about that, and they're not too sure about the treaty. So this could be problematic for the Socialist Party in general because, you know, Prime Minister Ayrault, he asked them all to rally round the cause and strengthen the party ahead of course, the municipal elections in 2014, but it's not looking so good. Le Parisien estimates that there's about a dozen people who could be refusing the treaty. But interesting that we've got conflicting figures from Le Figaro here who are also talking about it. They say it's more of about 20 people who don't want to sign it. They're in the no camp. They are being backed into a corner, or in French, backed against the wall by François Hollande to sign the treaty. And of course, Le Figaro interviews some yes camp, more right-wing politicians, who reassure everyone that it won't mean Brussels is dictating how Paris spends public money. But of course, many French people are very worried about what this could mean. Now, Libération actually interview a senator for Paris who's in the no camp. She explains why she's against this golden rule of not letting the deficit go above 0.5% of GDP. She does, however, admit that it is important for the left wing together to show a united front.
Okay, well, I'm sure that's a story we'll be covering a little bit later on here on France 24, so stay tuned for that one during the day. Now, you've also pulled out this story about cops and robbers culture in Marseille and controversy within the police force there. It's a story that's gone on for quite a long time, isn't it? But it seems to be getting worse and worse.
Yeah, this has been going on for a little bit over a year right now, but Libération have compiled a huge dossier investigating what they call a culture of corruption within the police. Now, just to contextualise, this comes after dozens of police officers were arrested with allegations of theft, corruption, and all sorts of wrongdoing and breaking the law in many different ways. So many were arrested that the anti-crime squad was actually dissolved by the Interior Minister, Manuel Valls, which is the first time any police unit has been dissolved in 25 years. Now, this started about September last year when a superintendent was arrested for informing criminals that they were going to be arrested and also exchanging information in return for presents or even drugs, in some cases, confiscated drugs. Now, that was just the one person who unravelled the whole web of corruption. There's an interview in the paper, on page 4 actually, with a sociologist, very interesting interview, who really kind of gets to the bottom of why this is happening, how it's a phenomenon in this region. And he says that in recent years, police officers have been allowed to act too autonomously, too aggressively, almost borderline illegally, and without really having to answer to their superiors. And he says that this is something that came out of the Sarkozy's very hard on crime stance when he was president in 2007, and also before as Interior Minister, where he really beefed up police powers and allowed them to act kind of more aggressively than they had previously. And he says that there's a culture of impunity around this because, you know, in the police, if you're accusing one of doing something wrong, then it's one person's word against the other. So he thinks there needs to be a judicial reform around this too.
Always comes back to politics in the end, doesn't it? Finally, in the French papers today, the Côte d'Azur holiday spot, Saint-Tropez. Don't know if you've been there. Went there as a kid. Very, very nice and sunny. But apparently, changing its name.
Yes, Saint-Tropez, if you're to believe this road sign we've seen in Le Parisien, it's called LVMH City now. This was a prank. Someone just changed the sign overnight, a reference to what a bling-bling city it's become. Of course, the LVMH is a luxury retail group belonging to Bernard Arnault, and obviously locals are cross that the place has become far too glitzy.
Too blingy. Bit like, I was always going to mention the word Biarritz, so that would upset everyone who lives in Biarritz.
Biarritz,
okay.
Too blingy.
Saint-Tropez, it's all changed apparently. Olivia with the French newspapers here on France 24.